What's up? What's going on? What's up, sweetie? That was a rather abrupt screen transition. I totally did it wrong. I hit the wrong thing. Sucks. How's everyone doing today? Everyone have a great weekend. Dingleberry, sweetie, Morg. Dingleberry, thanks for the resub, bro. You are a full 2 months in now. So you, at this point, would be able to hear a heartbeat and you feel a little fluttering, but for the most part, you're just a little squirt still. Has everyone been using their Christmas emotes wisely? Oh, nice Pikachu. Where's the Pikachu from? Poke Pikachu. Where'd you get him from, sweetie? Twitch Prime emote. Huh, I didn't know that. I'm a Twitch Prime. I'm gonna got the Twitch Pikachu emote. Where is he at? How come I don't see him? I want him. Is it really in the base emotes? Oh, I don't know that. I can't find it. So today is part 2. Oh, there he is. Oh, there's a whole bunch of Pokechus in there, whatever you call those things, Pokemans. My kids love it when I call them Pokemans. Because apparently they're not Pokemans, they're Pokemon. Whatever. Everyone's weekend was good, I trust. It's under... Your favorite's that guy? Oh, you even get the Minecraft guy. 7 years, Morg Meme. Congratulations. Holy crow. So let's ask the practical question now, Morg Meme. I got to switch my screens around here because I keep looking over there and I don't like that. Practical question. 7 years ago, when you said, yeah, I'll give this guy a try. He looks all right. You know, he's kind of cute, whatever. Did you think 7 years ago that you would be with this guy in 7 years? Was it one of those things where you're like, yeah, I can see myself with this guy forever? I gotta turn my light on. Hold on. Bam. Man, that's bright. Whew. There, whew. My goodness, child. Oh, yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Let me turn the brightness up just a smidge so we can... There I am. Look at me. Turn the remote off so we don't have any interference. Really? Hey, Ellie. How are you, kiddo? Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. Nappy, you here? Yeah, you are here. Look at you. The call's out. Nappy, you jump in whenever you want to, buddy. Nappy's going to join us today, everybody. Finish our conversation from last week. Best friends since 13. Morg Meme, seriously. Were you guys from like the same, obviously from the same small town and stuff like that? That's kind of like Veronica and I. Veronica, a little different, but same. That is super rare, sweetie. My wife and I have known each other for ever. Grade school. Kind of the same thing, but before, even before 13. Are you in there, Nappy? Can you hear me now? Oh, let me pull up Nappy here. Hold on. What? There it is. Yeah, Nappy, whenever you're ready, just start chatting there, bro. Yeah, we met in the same small town, same school, same everything else, except, I was the one that she avoided all the time because I was the bad kid. I was the one always in trouble, and her mom was like, stay away from him. He's going to ruin your life. Little did she know. I think I have you muted. Well, let's unmute you, bro. How do I mute Nappy? No, I don't want to mute Nappy. No, you're not muted. Do I have you muted another way that I don't know about? No? Try talking to the thing. It doesn't even show you in here, Nappy. Doesn't show you in the call, bro. Discord, yeah. Huh. Well, let's see. Ba-da-ba-da. Give me a second while we figure this out, everybody. Show an activity call, yes. Mute, no. Deafen, no. Yeah, it just shows me in the call. There you are. Now you're in there.
There we go.
Yes. Let me know, everybody, if Nappy is loud enough for everybody. Can everybody?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Ellie, Morg, Sweetie, Dingleberry. How you guys all doing?
Oh, you're in the general chat of my Discord. Yeah, I did it privately.
Yeah.
As opposed to going through the thing. Sorry about that.
No problem.
He's good? All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Well, welcome. Great stream yesterday. I mean, the music was a little rough, not going to lie.
You can thank Schwam and Aunt Meckham for that.
Schwam got pretty serious, man. Like, he's all into that whole, like, philosophy of that thing. I'm not even
him and Spitfire really get into that game and the deep under-rooted meanings to things. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, my brother-in-law, I don't know if you guys saw some of the art. Did anyone click on the link for my brother-in-law yesterday? I'm going to pull that up real quick. And I mean, I know you kind of gave me crap for posting that link, but it's a pretty impressive link.
Oh, no, that was joking.
No, it wasn't. You totally, no, it wasn't. You totally gave me crap.
I did give you crap, but you're always welcome to post the link.
I'm just messing. I'm going to show you guys pictures. See, these are paintings my brother-in-law did. These are actual. Let's go bigger here. Yeah. So these are oil paintings that he's done. He is.
I thought that was a photo.
No, these are oil paintings. So he is. Yeah, paintings, Dingle. He is a master-trained artist from University of Cranbrook here in Michigan. And to say that he is an accomplished artist would be an understatement. Let's see. So this is these are oil paintings. Yes, Morg, if you want to, come on in, kiddo. Absolutely. So is everyone okay with Morgan joining joining our conversation today? I'm going to show you. Go ahead.
I'm personally offended, but yeah, no, it's fine.
Sorry, Morg meme.
Bring her in.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me get into.
Bring her in.
Let me get into Discord here. I gotta switch my screens here. I don't want y'all in my business.
That is amazing artwork. Was there a way to enlarge that to your whole screen just to get a closer look at that, or post a link maybe in your chat? Because I missed it yesterday with how busy I was with the stream, and I really would like to see that up close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in there.
Morg, I was joking. Please come in.
I'm just trying to find her real quick. I'll get her. I'll get her in here.
Cow.
It's crazy,
These
eh?
are insane.
Which one do you like best? All right, I think I screwed something up. We have to go. We have to go to the Risk Immersed general chat to have multiple people. I sent you guys invites. Just come into Morg Meme and Nappi. Come into the Rise Above general chat. You in here, Nappi? Let me unmute you guys. Hold on. There you go. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Dang it. Work, damn it. No, that's not what I want to do. I'm new to this, people. It doesn't show you as muted. Nappi, Morg Meme.
Okay.
Hey, welcome back,
Everything's
Diablo.
great.
Appreciate you, brother.
Everything is awesome.
Why is it? Shows Morg is muted, but I haven't muted her. How do I unmute? Hey, what's going on, Nick? Come on in. I'm just trying to figure out how to get these guys into the channel. Your mic's on. You can pull it in. Nick's going to be joining us as well.
How's everybody doing? I went with a different hat today. Kind of wondered what Morg Meme thought of this hat. Not pulled up here yet.
Yeah, no worries. Trying to figure out why I lost these guys. Because the server mute's not on. You can hear each other, Nappi, but you can't hear me. That is the weirdest thing. I'm getting there. Hold on, folks. I broke it. What the heck did I do? There I am.
Don't make too much noise.
I can hear you. There we go.
Right.
You know what had to happen? I needed to join the stinking channel. I'm sorry.
I guess that would help.
Yeah, it's, I'm Canadian. I'm just going to say that. So, which Nick is this, Ellie?
You're like on delay in my ears. It's weird.
I am?
Yeah, like I can hear a couple minutes ago.
There. I shouldn't be on delay in
there
yours
you go.
now.
There you
Turn yours down because what you're hearing is that.
Oh, gotcha.
So we're just getting him set up. Nick just walked in. Okay, so today we're going to, let's see here. Showed a little bit of some artwork earlier from our brother. We can come back to that, Nappi, because I know you wanted to show that on kind of the big picture for some folks. But technical issue solved. Morg Meme, hello. Morg Meme, hello.
Can you hear me?
I can absolutely hear you.
Hi.
How are you? So did I hear that you were put in type just for everybody else, just to make sure everyone's aware? 7 years with you and your lovely other half?
Yes, it was 7 years yesterday.
Congratulations. That's pretty
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Were you here last week, Morgan? Yeah, you were here last week for the stream, were you not? Okay. Nappi, you still there?
I'm here.
All right. So last week we talked kind of really big, broad brushstrokes, this idea of how Rise Above as an organization messes with the rules of the prevailing kind of like model. And I say the model when I talk about that, I'm talking about how society typically works with this idea of trust and how we work with each other and to do and accomplish certain things. And but what I'm giving to you through the lens of Rise Above, the conversation, but really what I want you to think about is how you can apply it to your everyday, right? So Nappi, that's what we talked about, this idea of how we have taken our life experiences and turned it into ways that we are able to work with the people in our jobs and in our families. And you talked about your kind of some nieces and nephews and things of that nature last week as well. So, but I want to recap a couple of the things that we talked about from last week, this idea of, as we talked about this idea of what the prevailing model is and how we try and change that. But Nick, was there anything, not to put you on the spot, but was there anything from last week that kind of stood out in your mind that you want to
Not
start with?
necessarily. I just liked all the questions and kind of like the Rise Above aspect of it, you know, and then I'd like to hear, you know, how other people can apply it, you know, how can we take that beyond the walls of this building, you know. I think a lot about Andy Stanley does a piece on trustworthiness, and he says trustworthiness is just, are you worthy of trust? And that's the standard you need to hold yourself to before you can hold others to it, right?
Yeah, I agree completely. Nappi, anything that stood out in your mind from last week?
No risk. I think the main takeaway for me, and you might have noticed, I asked a lot of questions about Rise Above, just because I hadn't, been maybe on some of your earlier streams or something like that, where I got some of the finer details. So I feel real comfortable through you and Nick that I have a really good understanding of how things are run and everything. So that was great. And I think just sharing our stories is important so others can hear.
Yeah.
How things can work. People can work through things.
Definitely. Morgan, I want to say this right off the hop. You have permission to speak, as does Nappi, anytime you think it's appropriate. Comprende?
Yep, gotcha.
Good stuff. So one thing I want to start with is the idea that I started with last week, is this idea that we all come to this conversation with a bunch of sometimes private assumptions, but also this idea of shared assumptions, that socially we all begin with a common starting point with regards to people who are either at risk or people who are difficult in our lives, those people who we see as a challenge or different from us. Very often it's this idea of we just automatically see people in a very certain way. So I just want to understand that right off the hop. And the reality is that it's the obligation is ours to come to the table and recognize that there's an alternative truth to what we have as this assumption that we have.
Correct.
Fair? We're gonna have to fix your mic a little bit. Try turning it because it's facing kind of the wrong way. See how the line is this way? The line should be perpendicular to you. See the bar that goes around the top of the mic? Just turn the whole shebang like this. Like that.
You know, I'm
Just
not
move
the
it
most technically inclined person.
That's all right. Just leave it like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worry. Now it's blocking your face. That's no good for nothing. Shove that sucker down.
Oh, I'm getting close.
Yeah, just get closer to the mic for now.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out later. So the reality is that for this to work, we all need to be able to do, and this is Nappi, what we talked a lot about last week, this idea that we need to be willing to do uncomfortable things. Things that are outside of what we would consider norm, or what society would consider to be normal, right? For who we are in our culture. So I ended the conversation last week with this idea of, as leaders, the people who are taking this initiative, we have a certain job to do. a certain responsibility. And the first of which was to approach this conversation with an aspect of humility, this idea that I am willing to be less than what I typically have desired to be, right? I'm willing to put myself in your shoes to help me understand, to make better decisions and whatnot. Is that a fair statement to make, everybody?
Yep.
Okay. I'm still adjusting my lights here because I don't want to wash Nick's white face out. The next thing that is our responsibility is to seek understanding. So typically, what are the things, Morg and Nappi, that you guys do when you want to seek understanding? And same with chat. What are the things that you typically do to try and gain understanding on a given subject or topic or people that are around you? Morg, do you want to go first since we haven't heard from you yet?
Sure. So whenever I try to understand other people, I try to take it from their point of view or their perspective, not my own. So kind of have to get rid of all your biases and what you think and just kind of have to go how they think.
Would you be willing to say that those biases are the same thing as the thing called shared assumptions that we spoke about last week? Yeah. So, Morgan, do me a favor, because we heard a little bit about Nappi's background last week. Can you talk a little bit about the degree that you're getting right now, your master's, and in what you're hoping to do with it?
Yeah, of course. So I'm graduating in May with my master's degree in speech language pathology.
Which is awesome.
And yes, I'm very excited. And after I get certified and licensed in my state and everything like that, that I hope to work with kids, I believe. So I either want to go into like a school or an intermediate unit or something like that, because I really want to help kids.
Mm-hmm. Any particular age group that when you say kids, that's, Nick's still a kid, at heart.
I'm thinking like elementary age kids, but then again, I wouldn't be opposed to working with older children as well. I always just want to be like a role model for kids or other people. Like I want to be that person that like maybe I needed when I was younger to kind of help me and give me confidence. Like I want to be that person.
Yeah. From a speech pathologist standpoint, is it easier? Like, is it likely that little guys are more likely to pick up the correctiveness than say a 14, 15-year-old would be, Morg?
I think it just all depends. And I'm not a speech pathologist yet. I'm still a student.
Oh, you're almost there. Don't kid yourself.
But I think it all just kind of depends. But depends on your personality as well and how you teach and everything like that. So.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So I have a nephew. He's a junior in high school now, but he struggled with stuttering since he was very young, 4 or 5. And I just watched, like, he started taking it seriously, and he actually started going to, there were, like, stuttering camps he would go to with other kids that had the same struggles, and I just watched his confidence, like, shoot up, especially at the elementary, middle school age as he started to learn, fixes, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I just imagine if that hadn't happened, like, that's a tough one, you know?
Yeah. That is, especially from a stigma standpoint, when you're in school and you're the whole peer pressure thing and bullying and
just fearing answering questions publicly and reading aloud and stuff. So I have big kudos for speech pathologists just because of my personal experience and how much it's helped him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to be for someone. Like I want to be there to help them as they're growing up, to give them that confidence to be able to either just talk to people, answer questions in class, anything like that.
Yeah. Hey, Juice, what's going on? I didn't even notice you scoop in here. My youngest guy, went through speech therapy as well. He had a lisp type thing, like with the problem with his S's and stuff like that, which has been thankfully resolved. But it's one of those things where, again, the speech pathologist, like what you're doing is huge, Morg.
Yeah.
So, Nappi, question for you now. How do you seek understanding typically when you think about, particularly I'd be curious to see how you approach it from a business standpoint, because you just came from that world. And then if that you think that would be any different with the trajectory that you have now.
I think I learned relatively early on in the business world how important listening was, because from my perspective, where I had resellers that I was assigned to, so people that called my company specifically to talk to me about needs
Yeah.
that they might have, as a salesperson to be successful, when you would hear them say, purchasing, I need this. And over the 23 years of being in that business, when you listen to that simple request of I need this, you had to learn to be a successful salesperson.
Yeah.
Well, what else is going along with this? And where are you buying that? Or do you have it already? Do you need it? Or have you thought of actually adding this to that solution to have a complete valid solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a skill that was very, very important in my industry. And taking that into the not-for-profit world, I think that can be easily translated. That easily translates by just listening to the people who I'm either helping or working with, and trying to see beyond the initial request or need, and not just try to get that need filled, but find out what else they need or what's causing the underlying issues that are causing them to have that need.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be what would carry over.
I'm just making notes. So if you see me looking down, guys, that's what I'm just, because I'm hearing things that I want to respond to, and I don't want to lose it. So, Sweetie, you were saying you had problems pronouncing with your R's. Yeah, that was the S's and R's were Asher's thing as well.
Yeah, the R's. I went to speech when I was young for R's too, and I still can't say the opposite of urban. I'm not even going to try to say that.
The rural.
Yeah, I can't say that at all. And one of the
rural.
We have two boys, and one of the names I've always loved is Rory, but I would have to concentrate so hard.
Every time you call your kid, you got to think about it for 5 minutes first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard thing, when you I always think about people who have literacy issues, and we when you say you struggle with just saying a word, imagine not being able to read the word.
Yes.
It just would be so. But Nappi, I want to come back to what you're saying. Sorry, I digress a bit there, because that's a huge thing that we have here at Rise Above with some of our kids. So this idea of listening. So when you seek to reach full understanding, the idea there is that you have knowledge about the person. I think when you're talking about something, looking at something and asking yourselves questions about it is one thing. But people aren't rocks. People aren't trees, or you know what I mean? Yeah. People are, hey, Joe Cool, thanks for jumping in, buddy. People are people, and you need to talk to them, because in Nappi, you said something very important in my mind's eye, and it's the word need. People have needs, perceived and then real needs, right? This idea of, I need a Ferrari.
Yeah.
There's reality there. I really need one. But the truth is, I don't necessarily need one. But Nappi, you said something that in the process of listening, and this is, in Morg, this might be part of the speech pathology thing as well. I'm not sure, as I'm not 100% in that world. This idea of responding, listening and then responding to what questions they ask, and then asking other questions of their questions. When we ask to, really, because we're seeking to clarify.
Yeah.
Right? And then to give them what they want or need at that point. I think very often the experts or the leaders will go into a conversation and go, here, I'm going to tell you what you need. All you need to do is this, when in fact we haven't even begun to ask them the basic questions, this idea of seeking full understanding.
Okay.
Nappi, thank you very much for
great.
gifting Ellie
Everything is awesome.
a sub, buddy. Ellie, welcome to the gym. I just want to say that, Ellie, you have now officially, through Nappi, committed to a workout regimen that is going to cause you much pain. Enjoy. So, welcome to the gym, Ellie. Nappi, thank you, buddy. The next thing that we then do after we've approached with humility, i.e., an openness to say, hey, what's going on, is to seek understanding. In again, after you have an understanding of what's going on, is then to open your mind. Again, it's that seeking the approaching with openness to have a willingness to try something different. So our relationship model here, which we talked about last week, one of the legs of that four-chaired model is this idea of we treat every student differently. You love pain. Yeah. We got to get a therapist on here one day.
We have one that wants to come.
We do, actually. So when I say to you, approach with openness, Nick, what do you typically... I know you're in the middle of texting. I shouldn't have asked you a question.
Sorry.
What do you typically respond with when I say I want you to approach with openness?
So approach with openness, like to me, I have a journalism degree, and I go back to how you come into everything, or you should. Our media is changing, but you come into everything unbiased. Wanting to know both sides of the story and hear both sides of the story. And I was thinking about something a minute ago when you talked about not coming in and believing we were the expert. I remember when I interviewed with you, and I said, so you asked me what one of my concerns was, or or maybe Veronica asked me, and I said, I'm not you. I don't have all the right answers. Mm-hmm. And I remember you telling to me right at that point, it's not about having the right answers. It's just about listening. So many of our students want to be listened to first. And that totally flashed back when you were talking about, needing to come in. But approaching with openness just means everything's open. Your mind is open to whatever they have to say. Your heart is open to whatever you may need to give, and kind of your spirit is open to receive that, But yeah, I always fall back on, at least when I went through J school, it was about, getting both sides of the story and not progressing until you did, not writing, not doing anything until you had the full scope. Yeah.
So Morgan, I want you to think about what was just said there, that statement of this idea of students just want to be listened to. Think about what you're doing, what you're about to do, and how important it is then to make it so a student who has speech issues, speech insecurities, how you at that point are helping them to be more articulate, to be able to be heard better. Because I can tell you from our standpoint, that is probably the number one thing that we find our students struggle with, is this idea of feeling heard. Most of our students, and I've said it on stream before, a lot of our students have said to me personally, Mr. Fernandez, you are the first person to ever ask me a question about this, or to ask me if I'm okay, or to any of the above. So no, Morg, I mean, had you thought about that before, Morg?
I guess somewhat. I know that whenever I work with people and whenever I get licensed and stuff and whenever I start working, that I want to be open to what they are saying and what they want to accomplish and things like that.
Yeah.
We went over that in some of my classes, you need to listen to people, and not just, talk over people. You need to, be open to what they're saying and let them speak.
Yeah. Because, the reality is very often, especially when you have a master's degree or a doctorate at some point, the reality is you can, I'm the expert. Good thing you found me. Here, I'm going to help you now, right? When in fact, I think as a leader, our job is not necessarily to give people the answer, but to help them to arrive at the answer. Right? In Nappi, I would come back to what you were saying with regards to sales. Very often, you don't want to sell anybody anything, right? You want them to arrive at the answer of, oh my gosh, I need your product. Give me your product. Yeah. Right?
Oh, for sure.
So, and then I think the next part that we need to look at is this idea of being able to respond with respect. So not it's imperative because, again, we have all of our stuff together, right? That's why we're in a leadership role, because all of our crap don't stink, right? So the idea there is it's important that as we give the feedback, as we ask the questions, because you can be, how do I say this? You can be pretty ignorant in some asking questions sometimes.
And you can be unintentionally arrogant
Yes.
in asking questions sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's where that approaching with humility is vital. You know, where we don't say, you know, ask a condescending question with an obvious answer.
Yes.
You know, ask with the intention of actually arriving at something that is meaningful. So
I think that fits in perfectly to what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. Preconceived notions. You see somebody and you instantly categorize them in your head, and then how you approach them could come off as arrogant or you know, if you don't keep an open mind, you know, you see someone, you know, let's go back to when we were in high school, Risk, and you know, you saw someone that was, you know, long hair, jean jacket with the Metallica thing in the back, and you're just like, oh, that's a head, you know, that's a head, and he's probably some stoner, and he's probably going to be a jerk, and then you get to know him, and they're like a real, genuinely good person that has a great taste of music.
I can picture that guy in my head, Nappi.
Yeah.
I know. I can tell you his first name. Like, I literally still know. I know his full name. I could literally tell you his name. You know?
So it's kind of my background. You might pick up from being around me as much as you have, Risk. You know, I kind of fit around all types of group in high school. I didn't fit into one group.
Me too.
I was friends with the heads. I was friends with the jocks, with the athletes, with the you know, the preps. Everybody back then who were categorized in cliques, right?
Yeah.
So I think that helped me in general in life learn not to just judge people by their appearance or by what's easy. But even as an adult, I think, you know, all these years later, 30 years later, it's still something I have to consciously say to myself, you know, don't judge this person just because of the way they look, whether, you know, whatever it may be, because you got to get to know someone before you can really have an opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, there's still only those 4 personality types, right? You're still dealing with the same people. They just look differently, right? So, sweetie, I want to talk about. You made a couple of comments here, and Joe, you said me too. You're not as old as Nappi, are you? God, gee whiz, man, that guy's like 400 years old. You struck me as a younger dude than that. Sweetie says the at-risk youth is associated with poverty, so those adults could be role models. Yeah, very much so, sweetie. I think that's the old Nappi. I think that's, you know, one of those things that, you know, it's not just a youth issue. It's definitely an adult issue as well. But like the adults that do have those good qualities. Yeah, agreed. Anyone add to that? So the second part of that, the last part of that, and I think out of the 5 points to this idea of our job as leaders is, so it's one thing to sit and listen to somebody, but I'm going to ask a plain question and answer honestly. Have you ever sat with somebody, asked them a question, and the whole time they're giving you an answer, you're already thinking in your mind what you're going to say next?
Yeah, that's human nature. Like, it's really hard to fix that.
It is.
It's tough.
You know, especially when you're going to therapy.
I think you'd be lying if you said no.
Yeah.
What you would, but the reality is, it's hard to listen when you're already having a different conversation in your head. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Morg, I keep thinking of your role and I think it's so awesome that you're here today. You know, because I think when you think about going into therapy and working with these kids that have there is element of trauma. Because God knows that any kid with a severe, especially speech impediment, has gone through some form of bullying, or because kids are kids, right?
Correct.
And the reality is that they're not used to having somebody wait long enough to hear them out. Especially I think of the stutter. Like,
yeah. Oh
yeah. If you've ever been around a stutterer, the first compulsion you have is to finish the word you know they're trying to say for them. And that is the worst thing you can do.
Yep.
Let the person speak.
Yep.
You know, Our job is to listen and then obey. So you hear a student talk, you hear them say, I think I need. What happens when that person says, I need X, Y, Z, and it's opposite to what you were thinking, the conversation in your head, what it should be? So they say, I need something that's red. And in your mind, the whole time you're thinking, man, this guy really needs something that's blue. And then they say red and you go, oh, yeah. So here, let me tell you what you really need.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's really the challenge.
Yeah, and where you should go on that point is to get them to tell you why they need red, right? And the hard thing is, like, people do a good job of kind of moderating their verbal responses, but they don't do a good job of moderating their nonverbal cues, right? And I'm especially bad at that, you know, where it's like you'll just go, you know?
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Yeah,
and, but you do, like, I think the right thing to do is to not do what I did, and then to delve deeper, like, because you still want to give them voice. You know, you can be right in thinking that's not what they need at all, but you got to give them that voice before you know, turning it around.
So I think it's important. So even if you, as the expert, quote unquote, walk into the room and you listen, the responsibility we have is even if they come across and they give us a different answer than what we were anticipating, our responsibility is still to respond in obedience to that.
Yeah, and it's going to base on your relationship with that person too, because again, every relationship is different.
Whether they can receive it.
Maybe they can receive right away. Oh, not so much, kiddo. You know, and maybe they can't, and that's incumbent upon you to know going into the conversation to prepare for that.
Yeah. So one thing, Morg, here, I'm going to give you a statement, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Remember the duty and forget the joy. And I know I said duty.
So remember the duty and forget the joy. So, like, what I think that you said there was, like, remember what your duty is and what you have to do, and then forget, like, all the joy that comes with it.
So let me ask you a different question, because that's what it means.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Because
I mean, I wouldn't want to be like that, because I think everything has joy to it, whether it's even just a small amount of joy. I mean, I know I get joy whenever, you know, even if I just see my friend in passing and then say, oh, hi there.
Yep.
I think everything has a little bit of joy to it.
So I'll tell you why I ask you this specifically. And I would ask this of formal educators. Because in education and in therapy, there is a certain level of duty, like framework, that you have to fit within when you do you have to do certain things. You have HIPAA guidelines you've got to follow. You have all this stuff that you have to do. It's very rigid. It's clinical, some might say. And what can happen very often is that can steal your joy. It becomes more about the process as opposed to the person. Does that make sense? So in that duty, how do you think, Morg, maybe you would go about maintaining your joy?
Gosh, so I know I've been in school for 6 years, and I know, like, during that time I've had a lot of different stuff happen, and there's been times when I've been like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, kind of thing. Like, things have just gotten really
What didn't
hard.
you want to do anymore? Just it was hard from an academic standpoint, or it was hard from the, like, I don't know if I can do this standpoint?
Kind of both, I guess. I mean, when the academics got harder, I have a lot of self-doubt. So it's kind of like, I don't know if I can, like, complete this. Like, what if I'm not good at this? And so I think that I lost some of my joy during the 6 years, and, like, over the past probably year and a half, I've started to gain it back and be excited for what's about to come and everything like that.
Yeah.
I think just remembering why I started doing this and what my ultimate goal is. Like, I don't want to lose sight of my goal of helping people. And so when things get hard, I just want to know, like, well, someday I'm going to help someone and, like, that'll change their life, hopefully.
Yeah.
I was listening to this podcast this morning, and it was on fundraising, totally kind of off topic. But this lady was talking about how if you put things into 4 quadrants, and your top 2 quadrants are something that you are uniquely brilliant at, something you are uniquely brilliant at, something you are excellent at, and then the bottom 2 are your competencies and your incompetencies. And what you need to do is work above that line. You know, the thing that you're uniquely brilliant at, and the multiple things that you're excellent at. Because the other things, you know, you're always going to kind of push those to the side, you know? And so that was like what kind of inspiring to me. Like, what am I uniquely brilliant at? I had to think about it a little bit. It should be one thing. It's kind of coaching, mentoring kids, you know, like that's kind of, so how do I work into that in all I do? Are you doing some push-ups? You're working on the mic?
No, I'm going to work on your mic.
So that's what I would encourage Morgan is to kind of look at those, you know, and make sure that you're always working into those things above the line, the things that you're excellent at and the things you're uniquely brilliant at.
Yeah. And then I know that with me, sometimes like even I get down on myself if I get constructive criticism. And like that's not to say that like the constructive criticism is rude or anything like that. It's just that like I want to be the best at what I do, and sometimes I have to realize that I still need to work on myself and I'm not there yet. I'm still in school and I'm not supposed to be perfect right now.
Yes. A little surgery on Nick's mic. It's driving me nuts not being able to hear him. Yeah, I mean, I think Nappi, Morgan. Oh, Nappi.
Great.
Speaking of the devil.
Everything.
All right, I owe somebody
awesome.
some push-ups.
Hey,
Who do we?
Nappi.
We got the juice. Oh, nice. Seaweed back. All kinds of good people. So,
Okay.
Morgan, I
Everything's
asked you
great.
specifically because
Everything
this
is
idea of,
awesome.
I'm going to assume that your work, right, had meaning. Correct?
Okay. Everything's great. Everything is awesome.
When you decided to go into this field, there was a certain
Okay.
passion,
Everything's great.
meaning that was behind it,
Everything is
that
awesome.
kind of drove you that way. Does that make sense to you?
And I think that was I kind of was
Okay.
between nursing and
Everything's
teaching
great.
because I've always,
Everything is
wanted
awesome.
to help people, and I knew that. And kind of like when I went into speech, I kind of figured out it was between those two. Like I'm helping people and I'm kind of teaching people, and I have that flexibility to, when I get licensed and everything, maybe work in a hospital or work in a school. And I think that's what is really amazing too.
So I'm gonna plant a seed of conversation here for a second. Nick, I'm gonna let you take it over because it's something I know we should have a shared passion for. So it'll be easy. And Nappi, chime in as well, please. The reality here is, Morgan, you already have a passion and a meaning for the work that you're going to do. Yes.
Amen.
So even when duty, and I said it again, and you guys, I'm just telling you how immature you all are, because I'm having a serious conversation. You're all just typing duty over and over again, and then Morgan types Nappi his butt. I'm just playing with it. Type away. The reality is, you have the passion. It's us that lets the duty get in the way. I gotta find a better word, because really, even I'm starting to giggle inside now.
I'm stuck on duty. It's a responsibility.
It's the responsibility of
yeah.
the work. There's the reality that we have to face every day. It's us, right? And then when I get back, I'm going to tell the story of Charlie and his passion that he expressed with Rise Above the other day. So let me do the 25 push-ups. I'm going to go to DonoCam while you guys chat.
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn a mic on for this one, so I'll let you guys just chat, and I'll turn the speakers up so I can hear it.
I thought you said donut camp for a second.
Donut Cam?
Donut Cam would be much better than Dono Cam.
Like every time you get a dono, you just eat a donut.
That one I could get behind. The push-ups, I don't know. Yeah, I mean the passion. One of the things I really try to live by is to just live passionately. Like that's one of my core things, and that's what I challenge myself with. You know, when I go through those stages of life, is how do we live into our gifts, dreams, and abilities, right? How do we do that, and how do we continue to do that? And I'm sure, Chad, jump in, but I'm sure we all go through those phases where we have to challenge ourselves on that, right?
Of course, I think it has to. I think if we're not challenging ourselves on something, that we're not really trying, right? Because that means we're just coasting through on stuff that we know is easy.
Yep.
And we have to, especially about things we're passionate about. We have to challenge ourselves to do something better, or to do to do whatever the case may be. We have to challenge ourselves for that.
And it might be we need to find that outside of our professional career too. There was a time when my professional career was proofreading plant tags and pharmaceutical labels, and I always struggled personally during that time because I like people define you by what you do, right? Like you'll be at a party and it's like, what do you do? Well, I proofread like pharmaceutical labels, those little, like I know more about birth control than anybody who takes it. Like I've read all those inserts. I've read everything. But during that time, what was I passionate about? I was passionate about working with kids, and I was coaching high school tennis, and I was doing those other things. So we all have to find that. Now, obviously, I'm at a point now where I am working into things I'm passionate about, which is good. But I would encourage anybody in the chat or elsewhere, like if your job isn't that, then like how do we find it if finding a new job right away isn't the answer?
You got to find your passion. Yeah. If you're dead at work, you're not living your passion. I mean, was it you? Who was it that went to work for like UPS or something like that, and you hated it? And you're like,
Cody.
Oh, was it Cody? Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah, and I remember her telling me that she was doing that, and I thought, what are you doing? Like, I could hear it in her voice that she was just like, she hated it, And even the way, even if she's just typing in chat, you could tell she was feeling a need, getting a paycheck, but she was just like, you could tell she was desperate to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, it's tough when you're in that spot, and you just have to constantly reassess. I read a great book related to that. It was called Start, and it's by John Acuff, and it was about discovering your passion. And he talks about it as your awesome. Like, what is your awesome, And it takes you through steps to find that. And it was really encouraging to me at a time where I was professionally struggling.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to So, Morg, as I just asked you, we all in Nappi, this is what you're in the transition of right now. You need to find out why you're doing the work you're doing, right? Am I here just because I'm getting a paycheck? Am I here because this is where my buddy works and it's convenient because he's my ride? Or is it genuinely your passion? So the story I was going to tell you, we recently got another grant. Did I mention it on stream?
I don't think you mentioned it on stream.
So we recently got another grant from an organization in town, and a friend of mine, for $30,000 in support of Rise Above and our mission. And the grant was originally written for $50,000. Sorry, our students are looking in the window here, smiling at us. And the reality is, I got $30,000, and I was like, "Yay, $30,000!" I actually called Nick up and said, "Hey, dude, we just got 30 grand, blah blah blah." Well, one of the board members, on that board that made the decision to give us the money, called me after we received the check. Thank you very much, Joe. And he said, "Hey, Neil, how you doing? I'm just curious. Did you get the money?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, the check came in today. I was going to call you and thank you." And he says, "Let me ask you a question." He says, "Are you happy with that?" I'm like, "Yeah. I mean, it's $30,000 isn't a kick in the drawers. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a significant chunk of money when you think about our fundraising. That's roughly 10% of our fundraising for the year. I'd say it's closer to 14% for the year. So it's a significant amount of money."
Yeah.
And he says, "Neil," he says, he was very upset that we didn't get the full $50,000. And he said very plainly, "You should have got the $50,000. You deserve the $50,000. And he went on to tell me on the phone all the reasons why he thought we should have got the $50,000. And what was amazing, I have had lots of people over the years say what they like about Rise Above and to say what they felt about myself and Veronica and the staff, Nick and the rest of us here, and the passion that they have for our kids. But Charlie, when he spoke about us, I have never heard anybody in 5 years talk about our organization the way he did on the phone, and the lack of the $20,000 that he felt we should have got.
Yeah.
To the end of the conversation where I'm like, Charlie, you need to write this down for me.
Yeah.
The passion that came out of her mouth was crazy. Sorry, when you said Veronica better get me a coffee, darn it, that's my wife's name, so I was like, what the? And I say that because his passion, when he expressed it to me, was palpable. You could feel it.
It re-energized you.
It was obvious in his voice. And like I told you, like you could see it.
Yeah.
Like it was exciting to me. And so when you come to Morgan, I'm thinking of you at the moment. In Nappi, I keep forgetting Nappi, you're doing the same thing. When you guys go into your role, one thing that everybody says to me all the time, Neil, I can see that you're clearly passionate, right? Bye, Ellie. Thanks for stopping in, kiddo. Drive safe. What Charlie did in that moment was to express that same passion back to me. And I'd never seen that or heard that before.
Yeah. One of the first speaking gigs you had me do was to go talk at Lions Club last spring. And I was very nervous about it. It was my first time kind of presenting as Rise Above. And I'm fine presenting. I love having a microphone in front of me, if we're being honest. But one of the things that, and I presented and I thought I was pretty good and I was pretty happy. And the lady that ran it came up to me afterwards and said, I was nervous about having you and not Neil, if I'm being honest. And I said, yeah. She's like, one of the things about Neil is he's just so passionate and he connects with his audience. And she's like, if this was your first time speaking and you did that, she's like, you're going to be okay. Yeah. Neil's going to be okay. But again, it's like that people know we have that passion, but for you to hear it from somebody outside of the organization, like that's just like, whoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's huge. And so understanding your passion is important. And that's that whole idea of why are you doing the work that you're doing? The second thing that goes along with that is along this idea of duty versus joy is understand why the people around you are doing the work that they're doing. Because a couple of things are going to happen there. You're either going to get drowned out by their passion or they're going to get drowned out by your passion. And you don't want the latter. Mm-hmm. If your passion is to help kids, let it shine through. Because as somebody who has, at least in my position, had hundreds and hundreds of employees over the years, I can work with students who do not I can work with employees who do not have the skills needed to perform their job. I can teach you.
Yep.
It's completely different when I have an employee who does not have passion for the work that they are performing. Does that make sense?
Because passion brings effort.
Oh, my word. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And that's why... Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please finish it.
No. Go, Nappi. Go. Go.
Oh, I mean, that's why I left my job.
Yeah.
Although I was very successful and was very well respected, I knew I was not giving it my all, and I had lost my passion years ago. And I wasn't. If I couldn't put my passion into it anymore, then I knew that I just couldn't. It wasn't fair to the company, and it wasn't fair to me, and it wasn't fair to my coworkers, and I needed to find what that passion was and chase it.
Yeah, and you know that's
and unfortunately, you would be in the minority of people that recognize that, and therefore choose to do that.
And we'll sit there for 40 years slogging away, just doing the bare minimum. Yeah, and be completely devoid of any joy every day for 40 years. And with minimal effectiveness. That is the very reason why, I heard myself through Nappi's stream there. That is the very reason why we ask our kids on enrollment, do you want to be here? What we're really asking them is this going to be your joy? Am I going to just drive you nuts when you're here? Because you're going to have to deal with my joy.
Well, a lot of the kids want to, I think a lot of the kids are honest when they say they want to get back to school. But the question is, does this look enough like school for them? Because this is going to be different and this is going to be harder, and do you really want to do this? I get that you say your goal is to get back to school, but is this the mechanism to make that happen? Do you want to be here? Can you put in the work? Are you willing to put the effort, the passion in? And you can tell the difference usually pretty early on.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree 100% on that. So one of the things that you need to do, we need to do regularly as part of this process of fulfilling our joy and keeping our joy, because that's what happens is very often you get in the habit, a routine of work. And I will say that habit is a killer of joy and passion, because you lose the reality of why you're doing it, because you become a robot at that point, right?
Yeah.
You're no longer being emotional. You're just being responsive.
Or you're chasing numbers. You're chasing widgets. You're not chasing joy. Yeah.
And to highlight that, we have Veronica and I particularly, I don't know if everyone's picked that up, but Veronica and I have a saying in our home is to never make money the issue.
Yeah.
No problem, Nappi. If you got a jet, bro, you jet. We'll catch up with you on another stream, bud. Thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks, Nappi.
Nick, thanks, Ken, as always. Looking forward. Risk next Monday. I'll definitely be available. So.
Oh, awesome. You're welcome every Monday, bud. The reality there is, so how do you combat that robot feeling, that okay, I just got to get up and do the thing again, right? What I tell people, and this is why I think it's important, Nick, that you continue with the whole doing presentations as often as possible, is this idea of giving presentations. Have people come and share the benefit that you are to them. Have people come and give people an opportunity to say thank you. Because very often we don't give people an opportunity to say thank you for helping me.
Yeah.
Right? We just, okay, I got to help you here. Just get the thing and then go.
Yep, move on.
Yeah. And so I think it's important, Morgan, especially for you as you meet with these kids, if it's legally feasible for you, come back around to your kids. Is that something they talk to you guys about, Morg? Me?
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on where you're working, but I think if you're working in a school, obviously you have your caseload and everything like that, and I believe that you just have your caseload for the year and things like that.
Yeah.
But when I went into a couple schools and I observed people working and stuff like that, one of the things that was really cool was at the beginning of the day, all of the teachers and even the speech pathologists there stood outside their doors when the students were arriving and just kind of greeted everyone. And so I know that even maybe even a teacher didn't have that student anymore, but they were still coming in the building, they could always just say hello and drop by and stuff like that.
Yeah. And what do you think that did anything for the students, or do you think that did something for the staff?
I know that when I was watching and stuff like that, I mean, the students really enjoyed it too, even if they were walking by and they were hey, I got a new pair of shoes today, or look at my backpack or something like that. I know that there were students that were just excited to, show people hey, I got a new backpack or something like that.
Yeah, and in that moment, they're being heard, and that's where their joy is coming from, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's just the relationship endures part of what we do here. I messaged one of our former students, Eddie, who's been on chat before, or been on stream before. He's back at school now, and so Will, our student success advisor, has been out to see him. He was out to see him not last Friday, but the Friday before, and I messaged Eddie over the weekend and just said, hey, how's it going? It's been a minute. And he said, I kind of waited for Will on, like he was expecting Will the next Friday, and I felt kind of bad, and I hope Will's not watching because Will would have felt terrible because Will was gonna go see him, and I said, no, we haven't heard from Eddie. He'll be fine another week.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, it does. It means something to them too, and Eddie saying that just showed it meant something to him, you know. And so yeah.
They value. So once you've established that relationship piece, Morgan, you're going to do this all the time because you're not just teaching a kid how to enunciate and pronounce stuff, right? Or how to hold their lips or where to position their tongue and those sorts of things. I mean, you're building relationships with these kids. These are intimate moments, right? It's not clinical. Mm-hmm. Someone's not just coming in and saying, hey, I need a flu shot.
Yeah.
And I hope that isn't lost from an academic standpoint. I hope they stress this to you that these kids will get attached to you.
Yeah.
Especially if they have any amount of success with you in their struggles. So
I saw a former tennis player of mine this weekend that I haven't seen in probably 6 or 7 years, you know, graduated like 10 years ago, came running up to me in Meyer, you know, and that is awesome that she still wants that engagement after all that time. And obviously it made me feel incredible, you know, to still have that impact, you know, so that's what it's about is if you build the relationship to that point, they're gonna want that.
Yeah, and for you non-Michigan people, Myers is like is like a big grocery food.
Yeah, it's a regional
Walmart.
Type. Yeah.
Walmart.
That was my dog barking.
Oh yeah, I was like, "What's that sound?" I'm like, did my computer just do something?
Knocked on the door. That was him trying to protect me.
That's a good dog.
Best doorbell.
Yeah. So Morgan, I want to come back to something that we talked about before. Is this idea when you had that moment in school when you're like, I just don't know, that little moment of doubt that you had. I want to talk a little bit about the idea of self-limiting beliefs. I don't know if that term is something that anyone's familiar with or not, but it's often associated, at least in the circles that I am in right now, not just from a faith-based standpoint, but from a nonprofit. And I was going to say in Nappi, you'll understand this at some point as well. So anyone that's in a nonprofit setting will kind of get this, especially in small nonprofits. And it's a mindset of poverty. And it very often turns into a groupthink thing where we think that because I'm in a nonprofit, I have to be on a shoestring everything.
Yeah.
My budget, when I take donations, I have to just accept every donation that comes in, even though it's a 17-year-old couch with coffee stains and goodness knows what else.
You're speaking my language now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you come from this world, right? So I mean, the reality there is that's we don't. And Morgan, I'm kind of talking to you a little bit in the sense of I'm curious to know if, and I think you kind of answered this already, but I want to ask it again in the sense of the conversation then from a limiting standpoint, was it like, am I capable, or is it a question of should I be doing this?
I think it was a little bit of both. I know when the coursework and everything got harder, it was kind of like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do this. And I think that comes from my anxiety as well. Like, I just want to be the best that I can be.
Yeah.
And I want anyone, you know, who I would work with in the future to have the best outcomes and for me to be able to do my best with them. And I know that sometimes, you know, there was self-doubt there being like, I don't know if I can accomplish the coursework, and then I don't know if I'm going to be the best. Like, what if there are people who are out there that can do better than I can?
Yeah. Well, hey, Andy, what's going on, buddy? Welcome to the stream, bud. So, Morgan, I'm going to say a phrase. Again, one of these say a phrase, and I'm going to ask a clarifying question. And the phrase is this: what people see consistently with their eyes over time will enter their heart. What was that thing that helped you overcome what you were perceiving with regards to whether it be ability or whatever it might have been? Was there any one thing?
I don't think that I recall like exactly one thing that kind of helped me through that. I think it was just a combination of things. I know that earlier this year you talked about like what your love language is, and I know that mine is words of positive affirmation. And so I think when people started saying like, oh, hey, you did a really good job with that, whether it was like one of my supervisors or whether it was my fiance saying, hey, like, congrats on doing good in this class or something like that, I think that that really helped.
Yeah, and so would you say that it would be someone that you either respected or someone that was in a role model position then that helped you recover from that thought process?
Oh, absolutely. In my program, we have supervisors for certain classes and things like that.
Yep.
And I know the class that I'm in now, we get feedback, and being able to like read feedback and having like not only constructive criticism, but also kind of like those words of, hey, you really did a nice job with this. Like, that was a really great idea, was something
Words
that
of affirmation.
really helped me. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, our job, you know, when we get into these situations, especially here with the work that we do, is our job is we need to help people change what they see and hear, right? Hey, what's up, Soggy? 11
Everything's
stinking
great.
months. Oh my gosh.
Everything is awesome.
Thanks,
Not
buddy.
Soggy.
Appreciate you, Soggy. You know, and then in the process of doing that, our goal is to really help people change what they perceive of themselves.
Correct.
So what your mentor did, or what your supervisor did, or the people that spoke into your life at that time, Morgan, I mean, they helped you change what you thought was possible.
Yeah.
Right?
And that was something that I really struggled with before. As a lot of people know, I have anxiety, and I know that when I did go to my doctors one time, they were like, you don't have a lot of self-confidence. And I mean, I guess that was really the first time that someone ever really told me that.
Yeah.
And after that point, you know, it's kind of working on building that up to the point where I know my abilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because one of the things that people often say to me, because I'm a fairly assertive person, fair assumption.
Yep.
Is very often people in the roles that I've held over the years, I would say right from the military to now, because the last thing you want to see in a medic, someone who's treating your flesh wound, is fear. Yeah. When they come up to you and go, oh my gosh, look at, and they're like, dude, I don't know, you're not going to make it, bro. Better hope you got that letter to your mom written, because I just don't think things are going to work out. I mean, the last thing you want from somebody who is in control is fear. You want them to demonstrate a certain element of control and steadfastness, as it were.
Yeah.
So if one of your instructors came to you and said, oh, no, Morg, I don't know, kiddo, you're really struggling, and I just don't think you're cut out for this. I mean, that could have had a catastrophic
impact.
I'd probably cry.
And think about that. Like, if, you know, and now every personality is slightly different. For me, my personality is very...
I'm going to show you.
Yeah, I'm very contested in the sense that if someone says, no, you can't do it, I'm like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know, and I've talked about that on stream before, but...
And I'm somewhere in between there, you know, like... It would depend on who it was, right? Yeah. Whether I let it challenge me or let it defeat me.
Yeah, it depends how much what your respect level for that person was. And
yeah. It's always tough because, like, we joke a lot in my family that I don't have a lot of humility. I think professionally I tend to, you know, and I don't come off as that. But my family will say all the time, we'll say something and I'll be like, oh, that was awesome, I did great. And my kid will be like, oh, and you're really humble about it too. And it's this joke that we all throw around between our family. But I don't think in any of us, my kids or myself, that it comes out professionally, you know? And so that's okay.
Yeah. Because the reality, I mean...
Because you still have to have confidence.
Yes.
You know, there's a difference between confidence and cockiness. And, you know, like... That's a fine line, and the people that have success, I think, fall on the confidence side, and some people that don't turn into great leaders, you know, even in leadership roles, fall on the other side.
Because, I mean, the reality is, when you're in a leadership role, 100% people look to you to not have any fear.
Correct.
Because when the leader's running
Yeah.
You think to yourself, should I be running?
It's
Wait a
just
second,
fine-
I should be running.
Yeah, yeah. Because you want to be authentic too. You know, like you don't want to display false confidence,
Yeah.
but you gotta, you know, like it's.
Yeah, I can't help it as I'm saying that in my mind's eye, going back to when I was in the military. And if I ever in my life pictured my master corporal turning and running from something, it'd be like, what the heck? Wait,
You are in trouble.
it's really hit the fan.
Yeah.
Because that guy didn't run from nothing.
Yeah.
You know, he ran into everything.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, one of those things. I think when we talk about, because Morg, the beauty of you being here, what we're talking about is transformation. And in the context of Rise Above, that's what we talk about every day, is this idea of transformation for our kids. We want them to do things that they either didn't know were possible, didn't believe, didn't have the hope to believe was possible, and to get them to a point where true transformation is not only possible but sustainable.
Well, we saw it today. Did middle schooler today like hit a percentage he's never hit before?
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
for
yeah.
the full day, and came running up to us. And 2 hours into his day, he had accomplished more on his class, like percentage wise, than he had any other day here, and he was darn proud of it.
Well, and that's the thing. You know you've reached a milestone when they come running to you
Correct.
to say,
Yeah.
because if you have kids or nieces or nephews or have ever worked with little kids to the point where you have a certain level of affection between each other, and I say affection, it can be teacher-student affection.
Yeah.
When they come running to you and go, look what I did, and they shove this crayon picture up in your face, it's a dinosaur, it's, you know, and they just want you to go, wow, that's awesome. And that's exactly what happened today.
Yeah.
With this student. He has a certain level of affection and respect for you in the staff to say, here, look at what I did. And he's watching you.
Yeah.
What are you now going to do with it? And I think it's how we respond that is the
And it's a credit to everyone here that he pretty much went to every staff member here running with that, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize at the time, but when I came back from my meeting this morning and I went and I sat with him for a minute, and because I try and touch with him, I always give him a little pinch and give him a really hard high five to smack his hand off his wrist. Yeah. And before he even said hello, he couldn't wait to tell me about that.
Yeah.
He was just like, I did a thing.
Yeah.
Look at that. And you know, one of the things, this gets back to the coach effect. So you guys have heard me talk about the coach effect before. One of the things with the coach effect, when you get someone to go through the trust, obedience, challenge, change, growth model to the point where they come back to trust, hey, show me more.
Yeah.
That's where true transformation happens. That's where, as a coach, like if anybody watches football, you see it all the time. When you got all the broadcasters up there, you got an old retired coach on the panel and you've got a player on the panel. They still affectionately refer to the guy who was a coach as, hey, coach.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how long they've been out of the league. It doesn't matter if they were even on the same team. It's, hey, coach. Mm-hmm. And what will happen in our scenario is if you take a student that we've had this trust, obedience, challenge, change model happen with, and we're walking down the street like at Myers, they can't wait to run up to you and say they just had a baby or whatever the case is, and they go shove it in your face and go, look what I did. Yeah. Look at this thing that I did. And they want you to go, wow, kiddo, just like you did before as a coach, and go high five.
High five. Yeah.
You know, they just want to know that that you've accepted their work.
Correct.
That I'm proud of you and your effort was not in vain. It's huge.
You still do that with all of us on here too.
Say that again, Morg?
Like, you still do that with all of us on here too.
What do you mean?
Whenever I was like, hey, I got my placements for my extern, I'm graduating in May. Yeah. Like, you were like, hey, way to go. Like, really great job. Yeah. And like, you don't do that with just your kids. It's everyone.
That's the virtual high five he was giving.
Yeah, because that's a pretty amazing thing, and I think that because I'm not gonna lie, we all benefit from that, right? Yeah. There's, as much as I love a virtual high five too, there's something exciting to giving people that that attaboy. Yeah. You know, and I think that when it finally works, because take this stinking stream for example. All the sound hiccups that we've had over the months and whatnot. And Andy, thanks again, man. Holy crow, you've just saved my butt many times this past month with all the changes we made and stuff. But You know, when we get to a point when it works and it sounds, and I'm able to get, you know, Morg meme on stream because everyone loves the Morg, or as Soggy's saying, the new Merg. You know, the reality there is when it works, it feels good, and we want to know that everyone appreciates it. So, let's see. When you see a student play a video game and they get upset, why do they get upset at the video game? This is the next question. So I'm using a very low-level example to talk about a big picture problem. When we see a student or anybody that plays video games, because we all watch people play video games, that's why we are on Twitch, right? When you see somebody get upset at a video game, why do you think they get upset at the video game?
Because they want to deflect it from themselves.
Maybe. Chat, why do you think people get upset? Because PUBG is stupid. Because the reality is, so think about this. This might make your mind go poof a little bit here. When they're getting upset at the game because they think they can beat the game.
Yeah.
I'm pissed that I died because I shouldn't have died.
Yeah.
I was better than that player.
Yeah.
Or I'm better than this game. The reality is they're upset because they
Everything's
believe
great.
they should not have
Everything
died.
is awesome.
Yeah.
That they are better than whatever that thing is that they're in front of. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think it is. And I am not a big gamer right now myself. My gaming goes back to when I would move the control to try to make Mario jump, you know, like you'd lift. But I listen to my kids game pretty regularly, and you're right. Like as you were saying that, I was picturing my son Gavin going like, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, you Diablo, you joke about desync and stuff like that, but the reality is you still are frustrated with desync because you're deflecting the fact that I should have won that because I am better than that situation. Right? If you don't believe you can beat something, now flip this. Put it in the realm of if you don't believe you can beat something, what changes?
And why are you doing it?
If you don't believe you can win something, listen now. Morg meme, this is huge for what you're about to do because most of these kids think this is the way I am. It's never going to change. This gets back to what we talked about last week when we talked about this idea of, let me see if I can find I want to make sure I use the exact words so we can, this idea of pervasiveness or permanence. Everything I do is bad. I can't do anything right. Or permanence, it doesn't feel like it will ever stop or go away. If I don't think I can win the game, I am unlikely to ever try to win the game.
Yeah.
Throw the video game out for a second. Bring this into real life. If you don't think you can ever win and you never try, what is about to happen? Risk gets upset because I fall off every time.
No, I mean, you see kids like, and it's why when, you know, you see certain kids and they come in when we interview them and they might say, I have this diagnosis. It's not a diagnosis, but they're using it as a crutch, right?
I hate that stick diagnosis.
Yeah. You know, it's like, well, I'm this way because I was diagnosed this way, whether you were or not, you know? And then you see kids come in that want to defy it, you know? And so again, I was talking with our counselor this morning just about somebody using something as a crutch, you know, and that's why they say they're that way, and it is what it is. And they've accepted that label.
Which is a tragedy.
Yep.
And the truth is, Soggy, I'm the only one. There is only one that has won 3 times in a row. This guy. So listen, Morg me. Our job, Nick, you, me, Nappi, everybody, our job as leaders is to help people see the success in the areas that they don't normally see as having success in.
Yep.
The areas that they see as impossible, where there is this permanence, where this is just the way it is. It's always going to be this way. we have to find a way to help them see it in themselves. Because the reality is, and I've told this military story before, the whole machine gun story where I said, I had to help the guy and I got yelled at several times and finally got put on the parade square. And the reality there was if he needed help, but he also needed to see that he could do it himself.
Correct.
Because the reality is I'm not always going to be there.
Correct.
If he's in the middle of a firefight, in the trenches, and his gun jams, and Neil Fernandez isn't beside him to say, hey, this is how you do it, you just pull the thing, know? The reality is he's never going to know what it feels like to pull the thing and to do it, to be successful, right?
And we run into that all the time as with our students, and I'm sure as parents we run into it with our kids all the time. We want to pull the thing for them, and at some point they just have to learn to pull the thing themselves. It's why the question we got last week about if a kid goes back to school and wants to come back, like again, they got to see that they can do it by themselves, and we're going to help them. But we're going to take the training wheels off and they're going to ride the bike.
So I'm going to read a statement, and that I hope is going to highlight this fact.
Yep.
It's something I wrote a while ago. Our jobs as leaders is to help people see the vision of themselves that we have for them. Right?
Yeah.
Both in the present and in the future. Notice I didn't say the past.
Yeah.
Because again, forget about the stinking past.
We're moving forward.
We're moving forward here.
Yeah.
This is all about what we can do today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Our job is to start to affect the vision that they have for themselves. We would call that hope. That's why it's rise above with hope and courage.
Yep.
We provide the hope, they provide the courage, right? Yep. And this is the most important part of the line. We talk about capacity a lot here at Rise Above. And Morgan, this is what you're going to be doing a lot with your students as well, is helping them to build the capacity to, because a lot of these kids that have speech impediments are going to just talk less and less and less and less. The more trauma that enters in, they're going to regress to a point where they're going to talk only when absolutely needed or necessary. Our job is to build their capacity.
Yeah.
Right? For positive risk taking. So when is it safe for me to try this? Because it's not always safe.
Yeah.
So the wrong place for me to learn how to figure out how to fix a jammed machine gun is in
battlefield.
Is in battle.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want to teach a kid how to properly pronounce R's and S's when he's giving a speech to the class.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm in the back going, yeah, you got it, buddy. Yeah, come on. No, that's the wrong time. It's not safe.
Yeah.
Our job is to find safe places, not safe spaces. I didn't say safe.
Yeah.
Safe places for students. And this is where the trust of us is critical, because we're that safe place. It's okay. We can have this conversation. We can have, whatever. You see what I'm saying, Morg?
One of the places like that you see this a lot, this not the right place for this teaching, this safe space is in athletic. You watch youth athletics, like my son is a pretty good youth baseball player, and we play pretty high level travel baseball. But you see these coaches, we're blessed to have what I think are great coaches, but you see these coaches that are like wanting to fix a kid's stance or fix a kid's swing while he's in the batter's box. Like all the eyes of everybody on that field are already on that kid, and
all
you
that
want
kid,
and you just want to point it out in that moment, and so that was your comparison kind of to the fixing speech during a speech, or like here for a while we had a kid who struggled to read, and you're not going to try to correct him in front of everybody. You're going to do that in a quiet moment, but like it just so comes to the forefront in youth sports, and maybe that's for me because it's my world right now.
Especially when it comes to anything corrective, discipline or, hey, let me just fix your stance for you. I mean, a little tweak is one thing, but a full on.
Yeah, I'm going to physically walk up here and move you in the batter's box.
Yeah, I mean, you're not helping a kid, because again, the idea there is their ears, they're so stressed out at that moment because everyone's watching you do this.
Yeah,
they're not hearing a thing you're saying.
Yeah.
So, I want to go. One of the things I want to finish with as we kind of come around the end of this thing here, and start to move on to our next subject, which I haven't picked yet, FYI.
Gotcha.
Yeah, is this idea is it's not because I'm special that we're here. It's because you're special that I'm here. It's not because I'm important. It's because you're important.
Correct.
That we're here. So know that from my standpoint, the vast majority of the chat rooms I hang around in right now, I'm not there for the streamer, right? No offense to any of you streamers that I come and hang out with. Sometimes it is. But very often I'm there because I want to have a conversation with you guys.
You're in community. You want to be in community.
Yeah. I mean, in the streamer very often is part of that community, but with the bigger the streamer, the less part of the community they actually are. They no longer control the chat at that point.
Yeah.
They're just, background noise for a lot of these folks. And the idea there is, and sorry, Soggy, I know. It's what happens when you only got 2 or 3 people in your stream, buddy. Get wrecked, nerd.
Get wrecked, nerd.
The idea there is when we have the opportunity to treat somebody special, it will radically alter. Because we expect them to behave differently when they're around us, when in fact it's the other way around. It's us that should behave differently when we're around them. Not because we're being secretive or like, oh, I just have to act this way because I'm not comfortable. No, because we want them to model that behavior of respect and nurturing and growth and those sorts of things, and being open to, hey, I hear you. Yeah, we're different, but we can still get along and have a real conversation without it being destructive and whatnot.
That's one of the things that you talk about a lot is people always want to point to differences right away, real or perceived differences, and how can we have the conversation in a way that you and I are the same, Yeah.
Sorry, I just read what Soggy said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that our students like to do oftentimes is to compare staff, or to say that, I'm not Nick or Nick's not me or whatever the case is. And that's the truth.
Right.
They're absolutely right. And thank you for stating the fact that we've been trying to push into you for the past, however time you've been here. I think it's critical that we understand the imperative, and that is that we are not the same.
Yep.
And in that our relationships are to be treated differently and not blanketed. And Morg, that's going to be your biggest challenge as you enter into this next season of your life when you graduate here in May and you move into what's going to be an amazing blessing to you and to the people that you come in contact with, is the reality that if you try to treat everyone the same, you are not going to have the success that you seek in your heart today. That you need to find a way to see each person differently that walks into your space. So,
and it's real hard coming out of an academic setting where you're kind of taught these principles and these, it's got to be tough.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think that it can be hard too with different people's personalities. I know with mine, like maybe the way I'm teaching something or maybe the way my personality is doesn't necessarily agree with other people, but that's my problem and I need to change it, and so they can experience the growth that they need to experience.
Yeah, because I mean, we all have that personality that we're just like, oh, I can't believe they're coming in the building, Like, oh, I just really hope they would call in sick today. So how do we, as professionals, not experts, professionals, approach that with humility and with an openness to have the dialogue that we're talking about? Because there's a reality there. We're all people. I just don't like that guy.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's really hard. Very often to find ways to cross that bridge without being so.
Because we know there's personalities that are going to conflict just based on personalities, but you still have to do the best job you can to make that work.
Yeah, I'm just reading Felix's comment here. When helping a junior developer, you need to try and not make an issue of their performance. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So Felix, you don't have to have kids to understand the system and how that works. Mm-hmm. So I do want to talk about who is doing this well, because as a new streamer, right, one of the things that you're going to find success with in the OG Pickle, he hasn't popped in today, but he was on Nappi stream last night, and he actually, I think he streamed yesterday too for a bit. OG has done a really good job at personalizing every relationship he has with people. And we've talked about this on stream before, this idea of, he does handwritten letters, and, he's at the point now in his stream where he's at this crucial point, tipping point of being personal enough that he can have, a lot of one-on-one games and whatnot with his chat. I think that's what he was doing yesterday, was having games with folks from his chat. I think it's an important element, and that's why we keep Rise Above small intentionally, because we want to be able to have one-on-one game time with the kids, right? Morg, have you guys talked about approaches, and are there different approaches to how you can do the work that you are about to do?
I think that we touch on it in our classes and stuff like that, but I think that it's kind of hard to just talk about. I think that more comes with like the experience and getting to work with people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that you kind of figure out with your personality and everything like that.
But you have the flexibility, though. The roles themselves or does it depend on the company and stuff like that, do you think?
Probably depending on the company and where you work for. All states kind of have different like rules and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And so in the state that you're in, are they? Sorry, I was trying to think of a question how I could get you to say what state you're in, but I couldn't articulate it. So, joke's over.
Good try with that.
The big joke is more. Says she lives in the Yukon or Alaska because no one knows where she lives. Gotcha.
Antarctica.
Yeah, and that's why Soggy says, "Man, the roaming charges must be huge calling from Antarctica." That's too funny. So, I guess the logical question: she lives in Antarctica. Welcome back, Ellie. By the way, I guess the logical question is, where do we want to go from here? Because my heart keeps wanting to go back to the community conversation again, but I'm not sure that's where we're heading. So Ellie, in light of, since you're back a little bit here and you're kind of new to the whole conversation, what from what you've heard, what do you think we should talk about next? Because we got to find a. You think Ellie's caps lock is broken? What is caps lock? We need a topic. Give me a topic. Morg, what do you think?
I'm not sure. I know we talked about like the community, and then we talked about how to be intentional with our relationships and things like that. But I don't know where we should go next.
Okay. Like a deep topic? Typically deep topics, but I'm all about straying and having a food conversation. I just don't know how I could talk about it for 2 hours.
That'd be a long time.
Well,
that's a long time to talk about donuts.
Talk about donuts or food.
I so prefer a good bagel to a good donut, just so everybody's clear.
Yeah. Let's converse about how you keep your marbles on the track. Yeah, it's called taking your cheat hacks off there, Soggy. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. So just so you know, there's a game that you can play within Twitch.
Gotcha.
Where your chat can actually play the game with you.
Yeah.
And it's literally a marble that's on these loopy tracks and whatnot, and everyone puts their marble in, and then it just drops. Gravity takes it on this track, and then it's basically a race at that point. Mm-hmm. I play with Mr. Soggy Waffles quite a bit when he streams this stuff. But what he does is he puts this cheat in that intentionally pushes my marble off constantly. And he'll say it's not his fault, that he doesn't use cheats and stuff like that. But we all know he's lying. Because there is no way, Soggy, that almost 100% of the time I fall
right
off
on
the
point
track.
with that. As you said, he cheats. He says, not my fault.
Yeah. Total lies. Total lies. Yeah, see? Ellie's always right. Yeah. I will say that Ellie is at least sympathetic. As soon as she sees me jump off the track, she jumps off with me. So we die in glory together.
Being a good friend was suggested.
Yes. So, how to be a good friend? Yeah, that's totally. So we can talk about depth of relationships, conversation around that. Got to be with your exit buddy. Yeah, that's totally right. Yeah, that's totally something we can, because this will piggyback on that, because it's again, the idea there is that we're relational, and we can expound upon that for copious amounts of minutes. So, just a couple of updates with regards to the aforementioned other stream coming up in the new year. It's likely to happen. I'm working through some of the details of that. I'm not exactly sure how that, the exact timings of it. There's some technical stuff I've got to try and figure out, and some wiring stuff I got to figure out. But it's likely to happen in the new year. I won't go much more into it than that at the moment. So stay tuned, because I know I've gotten several messages on the side from a few different folks asking if,
because you keep teasing it.
Yeah, because they want to know if I'm actually serious or not, if I'm actually going to do that. It won't be from this studio. It's something that I'll need to do from home. So that's the logistical part I'm trying to figure out. You're ready to see the Nerf guns? Good stuff, buddy. So yeah, that's the challenge of all that stuff. Just trying to figure out how to coordinate all that and make it happen without bankrupting my family. I was going to talk about something else today, and I can't think and remember what the heck I was going to say to you all, besides, appreciate you all. Morgan, I will say this, as everyone expressed very early on in the conversation today, thank you very much. It's exciting to have you as part of the conversation, in particular with the field that you're going into. I will say one of the best things that you can do for your studies that I have found, particularly with the profession that we're in now, Nick and I, is to talk about it. Express your ideas, however dangerous they might be.
Yeah.
Just don't weaponize them. Be willing to have somebody say, well, maybe not. And understand chat. So one thing I want to say to you guys, and we've said it several times in this stream, we are not the experts.
Yeah.
We don't ever profess to be the experts. I'd love to be an expert, but the reality is, this is a moving target. We're talking about people, and it's very individual. So I think it's important that as we have the conversation, that you guys know that it's okay to say to me, because Ellie's really good at using caps, that it's okay to put no. I don't believe that, or no, I think that might be wrong.
Yeah.
In the chat, and
because we don't grow. Like that's one of my big things, is I'm on boards and committees and stuff, and you can't just have a bunch of people that all agree on something,
Yes.
Like you got to be able to have healthy discourse to push you, I think about in the past, like a staff I had in the past when I worked in retail, and the best staff I have was willing to say every so often, no, Nick, that's not a good idea, And when I lost that, I lost a lot of my mojo, because again, I want to throw out crazy ideas, but I don't want to be told that they're good if they're not,
And I will say that's probably one of my biggest changes, because I'm assertive, and I carry myself a certain way. People are often reluctant to say, I don't know, because I'm not afraid to push back. And the beauty for me is when I get into a relationship, deep enough relationship, they realize that my pushback is not me being a jerk or me being mean or whatever. It's just me wanting to make sure I got it right.
Correct.
Because I'm not afraid of being wrong, and I'm not afraid of having the debate about why I'm wrong. But for me, the debate is I want to make sure that next time I have this conversation, I've got this nailed down in my mind.
Yeah.
And for you guys, the reason why this stream came about was a need for me to be able to express myself in the ideas that I have up here. Because again, this whole rise above thing is new. This is not this is not where I thought I would be 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to articulate this every day and make sure that I've got it nailed. As everyone types anus in the chat.
Yeah, I don't know where that come from. I must have missed something.
I think it has to do with faucets here.
Gotcha.
And faucetus. It has the word anus at the end. So everyone gave him the nickname. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Welcome. So the idea there is you guys are my sounding board. Is this art? Nappy's not here. He had to go to an appointment. Otherwise, it would have been hilarious. And neither is Schwam here, so we can't have that art conversation. Sorry, Fawcett. Appreciate you trying to bring it in, though. You were there for the conversation last night about art, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty fascinating.
It was interesting.
It was very deep and philosophical.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was. We were trying to interpret art, and it was. Thankfully, it was my bedtime. Well, yeah, this is Morg Meme's voice. Yeah, Morg Meme's on stream with us today, Fawcett.
Yeah, Fawcett, you missed it. Get wrecked.
You missed it. You gotta have to go back and watch the VOD now, nerd.
All the way from Alaska.
All the way from Alaska. Her phone bill is gonna be crazy. So yeah, one of the things I want you guys to thoroughly understand is that this is not just me coming on stream to tell you the truth. This is me expressing my current truth, hoping we can come to a greater truth. Does that make sense? Sounded very philosophical almost.
No, I think it was good.
But the reality is that I'm learning. Like Morg's in school. My schooling is done at the moment. But this is the best I can do with the time that I have to make sure that my professional development continues in a way that is not making me think I have all the answers.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
I love to be pushed back on, I just think it's important. We can't grow if we're not, you know, and you want as many voices in the conversation in terms of this for sure,
And I will say that, today's stream has been phenomenal. We've had as many as 20 viewers in here today,
wow.
which from an average standpoint is pretty huge because we average probably 11 to 13. So
gotcha.
It's been good. One thing I will say as well, somebody made a comment earlier about, it was Andy that said something, wrong conversation, wrong time, whatever. Because if you want to be fun, joke away. Yeah. This is not that stream. I want to try and keep it as PG as possible, but at the same time, yeah, the topic is us. Don't worry about being silly and having a conversation in chat. I think that's a big part of it. So
what Fawcett just said, yes, men are boring and don't challenge themselves or anybody around. I'm sure it was kind of said in jest, because we are willing to challenge, know, but there's some truth to that. Men don't necessarily always have serious conversations with each other, and that's a different chat.
Yeah, and that might even be a conversation for the future. It's just, I did a sermon one time just titled Yes. Yeah. And this idea of being willing to say, just being this idea of being a yes man, but it was from a spiritual standpoint. But yeah, I could very easily turn that into a secular conversation with regards to the things that we do. I can give you some amazing experiences from Coca-Cola where my boss was surrounded by yes men, and then I came in the room and he was like, "What the?"
Yeah.
This can be dangerous.
I play that role sometimes. It's good,
and it is. It really is. So, what's that, Felix? PG as possible, but this is more than acceptable. Absolutely, it's more than acceptable. So on that note, we are at pretty much the 2-hour mark. I just want to say thank you to all you guys again, to everyone that resubscribed today. Diablo, I think Soggy, you were in there as well. Nappy gifted a bunch of subs today. I just want to say that the continued support from you guys has been really good, and in me being able to put these resources back into our organization to ensure that we continue. Fawcett, thank you for subscribing, buddy. Welcome to the gym. You, sir,
everything is awesome.
Are now obligated. When I do push-ups, this should be a thing. Here, let's do this. Chat, what do you think? When I have to do 25 push-ups, you all got to get down and do 5 or something like that. Let's make that a thing, and then I got to hold you at your word.
I don't know if you and I can both fit together on Dono Cam.
Yeah, well, we'll have to figure that one out.
I'll cheer you on.
Cheer me on. Push-ups, Ellie. So yeah, in the context of the stream, I just want to say thank you for you guys. The work you're doing, just by showing up is more than you guys could ever understand. And do push-ups with Nick on my back. Yeah,
he probably could.
Not gonna happen.
More like ripped, immersed.
Could absolutely do it, but the reality is it's not going to happen. Andy, thanks for showing up. Morg, Meme, Fawcett, Solf. Solf, I just realized you were here, buddy. How long have you been here, Solf?
Hey, Morgan, I just want to say thanks for the positive hat shout out again. I actually I had my other hat on, but this was in my bag, and I was like, I'm gonna go on stream in a different hat today, so I won't run out.
Yeah.
I noticed right away, and you didn't respond, so I didn't know if you
Yeah,
saw
no,
my
I
comment or
caught
not.
it, but it just wasn't the right point. But I actually wore this hat for family pictures,
Yeah.
and my wife didn't love it.
Yeah, that's too funny. Ellie says, "Make the handsome man do push-ups." Careful. Yeah, the reality is that this whole thing is awesome to us, and I won't speak for Nick, but for myself in general, this is. Ooh, soggy. We could probably work that in. So Ellie, what was Ellie's conversation? What did Ellie want to talk about again?
I think that
Maybe a good friend
was that the
and
friend
positive
one?
relationship.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm gonna write that down. So hang on. Because soggy, that's actually a good one. Self-confidence. So I can bundle those together. Because I believe that, and I mean, we're not going to talk about your type of self-love, Soggy, but we'll talk about it in the context of how it helps our kids. Because I think all of those tie in together.
I agree.
Yeah, I actually like what you have to say, Soggy. Believe it or not, buddy. That's why I tune into your stream. Right? So, all right, guys. I think that's it for us today. I appreciate you all again being here. Thank you for the gifted subs. Thank you those for the resubs. I will say this, guys. I want to try and I'm going to create some goals with regards to some followers and stuff. So I don't know if there's any way we can kind of get the word out that this stream exists and how we can get other folks involved. I'm going to be pushing for some new sponsors here in a little bit, and I'd like to have a certain follower mark in place for when we do that. And so I look to you guys to see if we get a few more folks in here from a follower standpoint. So,
Yep.
Nick, thanks again, buddy.
Thanks for having me, chat. It's been fun.
Morg Meme, you want to say anything to chat before they go?
I just wanted to say thanks for having me, and I didn't really plan on coming on today. It was kind of just a last-minute decision, but I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really glad you did too, and I know that I will speak for all of chat. We're all super glad that you did today. It is, it's a voice we've all wanted to hear more often, and that's why I think when you said in chat the other day that you might be doing a stream, we were all like, "What? Morg stream?"
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I have like 15 followers, and I don't stream, so.
There's a reason, Morg. Everyone's waiting for you. So, and I think it's, as you work into your final part of your masters, streaming might be something that you can use as a way of studying, right? And honing your craft and bringing people into, because one of the things that I've found as we've done this stream is that there are what I thought was an isolated conversation turned into a community conversation pretty quick. And, the amount of private conversations I've had and the amount of whispers and whatnot has been humbling to me to let me know that, the struggles that I personally have, I'm not alone with. And the reality is I think that you can affect a lot of people really quickly, Morg. And even if it's something you do very infrequently like I do, you can have a dramatic impact with very little effort, to be honest. So
I joined Twitch in April, and I followed Choco Taco, and then I just kind of branched out from there. I think OG Pickle and I had a conversation about avocados, and that's how I found his stream.
That's hilarious.
You guac.
You guac. Yep. So, and I can just watching the chat as we had this conversation, I think it's fair to say you would have several people that would jump at the bit to have an opportunity to have that conversation with you. So Thanks again, guys. As usual, I'm going to push you guys over to Air Max. Please, 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 please drop some Risk-A-Merce hearts in there for him and let him know how much we love Air Max. And please drop him a follow if you haven't already. Just let him know that that Risk-A-Merce cares. And remind you all that Thursday is leg day. Don't forget. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks again for your continued support of Rise Above and our kids here. We all love you. Hope you guys have a great one. Bye for now. Bye, Nick.
See ya.
Actually.